Boris Johnson's most senior black advisor has resigned following the debate over Downing Street's controversial report on race disparities in the UK that came out yesterday and is widely covered in the papers today. Yeah, according to Politico, Samuel Kasumu, who is number 10 Special Advisor for Civil Society and Communities, has this morning informed colleagues of his decision to step down. We're joined now by the Skills Minister, Gillian Keegan. Good morning to you. Sorry, it was yesterday morning he informed colleagues he was going to step down. Can I get your reaction on this resignation? I think earlier you were speaking on the radio and you weren't sure who he is. What's your reaction to what has happened?
Yeah, no, personally, I don't know him, but it's a personal matter, actually. It sounds very much like this is a personal matter, so it's not up for me to comment.
I'm afraid it's not a personal matter, is it? When he's described previously, he wanted to resign in February and was talked out of it, we're told by Nadeem Zawi, when he talked about the government pursuing a politics steeped in division, that there was unbearable tension. So it's not a personal matter, it's actually a very public matter. And this commission, this report is also a very public matter.
It's a personal matter. When somebody resigns, it's a personal matter.
When they say that they're resigning because they believe... Sorry, when you say it's a personal matter, that sounds like it's they're stepping down for personal reasons. This is a very public reason, because they believe that the government's policies and the way it's moving forward is a politics steeped in division.
You would need to get the comment of why he's resigning from him. And that is not actually a comment of why he's resigning from him. I think it's best, you know, that
was from a letter that he had in February, and now he has resigned because of this report. So it is, what is it? Your reaction seems to be obviously very defensive of this. It's not a very good look, is it, for the government, that yesterday a government-commissioned report is described as irresponsible, as immoral, as people were flabbergasted by it, that it was gaslighting, and this morning the most senior number 10 advisor on ethnic minorities resigns?
No, I'm not defensive at all. I'm saying it's a matter for him, and I can't defend or talk about why he's resigned. It is a personal matter. It's a matter for him. In terms of the report, though, the report is an important report. It's an independent report, so it's not a government report. It's an independent report. But of course, it has a lot of detail in there, 285 pages. I haven't read all of it, but I've read a lot of it now. And the government's obviously considering that report and will respond to it.
But there has been a lot of criticism since the report came out, backlash over this report, criticised for all sorts of different things, and in particular this claim that there isn't institutional racism anymore. Do you agree?
Well, I think you must read the report and not the reports of the report. I think that's the most important thing. What they do is they go down a very detailed data level and they look at actually what's happening. They look at disparities, they look at inequality. They do say there's racism. There's a lot of criticism in the report. There's a lot of recommendations in the report as well. And they do basically say that there is a lot of disparities and inequalities, and we need to do something about them. But, you know, that's the report has recognised all of these things. But, you know, so I think it's a very detailed report. The 10 commissioners have spent a lot of time, a lot of effort, spoken to thousands of people. And I think the minimum we can do is to take this report seriously and read it and look at the recommendations and respond to it.
And so what is your response to those that say that what are the reasons then that Black Caribbean students are 6 times more likely to be excluded from school if that isn't something structural going wrong?
Well, when they looked at one of the things that I thought was interesting about the report is they said we should not use this kind of catch-all term BAME. We should look down into very individual differences. And they pointed out, you know, for example, they pointed out the difference between Bangladeshi boys' educational outcomes in London versus Bradford, how different they were. So they were saying there's, you know, sometimes there's other factors as well. Geography is a factor, socioeconomic background is a factor, family history is a factor. So they looked actually at many different reasons. And what they found is it wasn't a uniform picture. It wasn't a uniform picture by race, by different ethnicities. There were different things. And actually the most important thing is to get to policy to solve the inequalities and the disparities. You have to be able to act. And actually what the report does, it gets down to that level of detail where it isn't high level in the detail. And that's something you can act upon.
And you're in charge of looking at skills, the skills of the nation. what do you make of the fact then in 2018 that 584 Black Caribbean hopefuls applied for the civil service fast stream and none succeeded? What does that say about the way that those people, Black Caribbean people who are trying to get into government, trying to get into the civil service, that none were successful? What does that say about...
Yeah, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. I think it's not good enough. And, you know, one of the things I've been doing in government as well...
To many people, that shows that is evidence of structural racism there.
I think when you say structural racism, the label structural racism makes out that, there's something there in the structure. But when you have big differences based on geography, it doesn't really support structural racism. It sorts different, more nuanced differences. But are there occasions when, people don't get all the opportunity they should from different ethnic minority backgrounds? 100% there are. And do we need to do more about it? Yes, we do. Do we need to offer more apprenticeships? Apprenticeships is something I'm responsible for. We do have groups that look very much at how to encourage more people from ethnic minorities to take up apprenticeships. They're a massive social mobility tool and brilliant at getting you on in your careers. But, we do need to make sure there is more awareness of that. That's one of the recommendations in the report. We need to do more, definitely.
Well, talking about areas where more needs to be done, we've got this immediate review of safeguarding policies in schools that's been launched. A new helpline with the NSPCC has been created in reaction to what's been happening. This Everyone's Invited website where students are sharing experience of sexual harassment and abuse they've been receiving. We had a review of this. We had a report back in 2016 that pointed to the things that were going wrong. Nothing was done. Why are we now in a situation a few years down the line where we're then looking at it again and presumably it's going to find that not enough has been done?
Well, it's not true to say that nothing's been done. We have updated our relationship, health and sexual education curriculum. That was introduced in May 2019. It became compulsory in schools from September 2020. We've also updated our keeping
sorry to interrupt, but not enough has been done then. We've got 10,000 reports posted on this website now and growing of the stories that children, young people are putting forward about the sexual harassment, the abuse that they are getting in schools. And for a review to be launched into safeguarding, it's presumably pointing to the fact that safeguarding has failed to some extent in schools, hasn't it?
Well, there's actually 11,500 reports now, and as you say, it will be growing. I think, we have updated the Keeping Children Safe in Education guidance, but that's why the Secretary of State has said he wants Ofsted to do a thematic review to understand what is working and what's not working well. I mean, the majority of schools, by the way, take this very, very seriously and will have excellent processes and procedures in place, but we obviously do want to check that. There are distressing reports, but in addition, there's a lot of other activity as well. We've got an online safety bill going through Parliament at the moment. We've got a violence against women and girls bill going through Parliament at the moment.
It's interesting. How will that stop? It's a part of the debate, isn't it, that we were having yesterday about this issue, about the kind of pornography that's available on the phones, of boys, and that's sort of what the debate is looking at too. What is this new bill going to do about that? Because, of course, there's ideas mooted that we can have paywalls for newspapers and various things. We can't access it, but actually pornography is available on, the phones of 12-year-old boys.
Yeah, and what it does is it puts a safeguarding duty upon the platforms and also the websites for that to be appropriate, and also for them to have appropriate procedures in place to make sure that's not
it doesn't sound like it's going far enough, frankly, does it? It doesn't sound like, that it's not going to block it, is it?
No, that's to put a safeguarding duty on a company and to make sure they're responsible for it is actually quite a tough measure, because it means they have to put in place actions to implement this, to make sure inappropriate content is not available for children. So it is actually, it may not sound it, but it is actually quite a high bar that it will be introduced, and it will require many internet companies to have much more, to be more responsible for this than they are
struggle
today.
to get racist abuse off online, don't they? So goodness knows how they'll cope with this as well. But thank you for joining us.
That was also part of the report.
Morning.
That was also part of the report, the expert report that we need to look at the detail of.
Gillian Keegan, thank you for joining us this morning.